Welcome once again to those of you who've been following this short series of reflections. And welcome to anyone who's joining us for the first time. In fact, this will be the last in this series, though we hope there will be another series coming along in a few months' time. Just a reminder that the purpose of these reflections is to help us take a little time out, a little offline time during the month to reflect on where our life is going, its purpose, the essential. How much am I in contact with the essential purpose and meaning of my life? And we've ranged widely over different traditions and the contemporary context in which we all live. We've usually had some sort of symbol on which to focus for the reflection, and we're going to do that again today. This globe in a box is a paperweight and was given to me some time ago. The person who gave it to me said, "It's for you to put on your desk so that you can put your hand constantly on top of the globe and have it, I suppose, under control." A very foolish idea and really not at all realistic. And yet it is symbolic of the way many of us think of ourselves and our lives on planet Earth, carefully contained where we can control it. Now, planet Earth's unfolding from the Big Bang until now requires it to be seen in the context of the whole universe. We can't put the globe in a box, and we can't really put our own lives and the environment in which I live in a box either, and try and protect it from the whole global, universal, cosmic environment. So there is number one. The second is another symbol of our world, one, alas, with which we are too familiar. This is a broken globe. The beauty of our world, the rich diversity and the wonders of our human family, in many ways are broken, their power reduced, their beauty not recognized. Our broken world. We know it so very well. We hear about it every day in our television news, read it in the newspapers, meet it on the streets. Protests, riots, discontent, fear, brutality, hunger in the midst of plenty, greed, and so on. So the broken world and the world we want to keep in a box in some ways are related. The word globalization has become such a familiar word now in our everyday language. We know we're going to move towards being a global family, but it isn't really very easy to accept or to help to create. Recently I visited London again, but it could have been any major city in the world. Think of one that you know. You know, it could have been New York, it could have been Sydney, it could have been Mexico City, it could have been Johannesburg, it could have been any large city anywhere. But it happened to be London. And what impressed me this time, although I know the city well, I have only come back to it and visited it from time to time. And what impressed me this time was how much of a global family it has become. People there from many parts of the world, from every continent in the world, all cultures, all religions, all races, now claiming to be British. These people are not recent migrants. They are third, fourth, even fifth generation who've all been born and grown up there. Children, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and so on. And we look and say, the global family is a reality. It's here. It is more visible, it is perhaps more developed in some parts of our planet than others, but it will come. The global family. If we looked at the faces of the people going past, we would have seen the same things that we will see in crowds everywhere, in every large city. Speed, hurry, anxiety. On the whole, an aging population. The age range of 60 plus, so the statisticians tell us, is increasing 5 times more quickly around the world than any other age group. Multicultural, race, language, a new global experience. Of course, we have very serious backlash reactions to this reality. The people who want to build the barriers higher, make the rules and restrictions firmer, keep everybody out except whom? The people who really belong here? But we all belong here. We are all part of the human family. There is only one human family on earth. We are all the same species, and we all have the same source, beyond space-time. Backlash. Why are we so frightened? Fear. Mostly, again, if we turn to our ancient wisdom, we turn to our most ancient scriptures, the Vedas and the Upanishads, we're reminded that the only way to lose fear of each other is to recognize the fact that we are all one human family, that we have all come from the one source. We all belong to the one mystery which brought us into existence. To quote the actual words of the Upanishad, the one who sees all beings in his or her own self, and his or her own self in all beings, that one loses fear. The only way I can lose my fear of the abundant variation and diversity of peoples is by recognizing that you and I are one family. And the mystery that dwells within you dwells also within me. An obstacle. The source. Can we really get back to living in awareness of this truth, this fundamental truth? It's the only way we will heal this broken world. More divisions, more barriers, more violence, more fear is not the answer. All beings in the self, and the self in all beings. We need to learn to accept each other and not be afraid. There's a level of consciousness in which we have all been taught to be afraid of differences. It was captured many years ago in a song from one of the successful plays of the day. Perhaps some of you may remember it if you're old enough to remember it. It was called South Pacific, where an American soldier serving in South Pacific Islands fell in love with a girl from there and wondered if it would ever be able to be a relationship that was free and acceptable when he got back home to the United States. What the words said were very important. He realized, he said, we've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose skin is a different shade and people whose eyes are oddly made. We have to be carefully taught. We have to be taught before it's too late, before we are 6, at the very least 8, to hate all the people our family hates. We have to be carefully taught. It's unfortunately true. Much of our fear of each other is being carried about in an unconscious way, at an unconscious level of reaction to the fear we have been taught about differences in culture, religion, language, ways of dress, political opinions, and so on. There is only one key that we have discovered to overcome that fear, to see all beings in the self and oneself in all beings, that we are one whole human family. The step after becoming a global family is going to becoming a universal family, of rediscovering the place our globe has and our family on this particular planet Earth has to the rest of the universe, or even to the rest of the other universes, in the plural, if they do exist and if we discover them. We really do have to wake up to the fact that the global family is not a threat, it's not a daydream, it's a reality, and we have to learn to live with it, reducing our own fear. The global person of the future will have great richness to share in his or her life. I want to introduce you to a little boy who lives in Vienna at the moment. His name is unimportant, and I'm sure his parents wouldn't mind me mentioning him, because he is the global person of the future, and he's already here. His mother was born and brought up in Germany, though now she's living in Austria, and she has for a time lived and worked in Brazil, in Latin America. She has, therefore, her own language, German, and she has Spanish as fluent languages, and she has, through her work, learnt English. She was brought up in a Catholic Christian culture, but as an adult decided that Taoism was what helped her and was attractive. She found a Chinese teacher, and she practices Tai Chi seriously and has been to China with her teacher. So, 3 languages, 2 cultures, 2 religious traditions. Her husband was born and brought up on the Ivory Coast, another entirely different culture. His family tradition is animist. He was sent away to school, and as the Ivory Coast was a French colony, the school was French-speaking, so he had his own language and French as fluent languages. He also, through the French schooling, came in contact with Christianity. But as he was away from home, he lived with a Muslim family. So we have Islam added to Christianity and animism. and 2 more languages added. Their first son is an inheritor of all this, and he lives in Vienna. He has a whole world of diversity and richness to be integrated inside him. It is something we should rejoice in. He's the new global person. And there will be many more around us if we will look, recognize, and rejoice that they are here. The worst thing we can do is to say, he must be integrated into this culture or that culture, this tradition or that tradition. His work of integration is integrating all the richness and diversity he has inherited in a coming global family on planet Earth. So next time you're in a big city, even one you're familiar with, have a look round and see, recognize how it's already happening. And recognize also the fear that is saying, shouting, put up the barriers, build the walls higher, keep everybody out but us. After the global family, we will be moving into the universal family, where we'll be so at home with the diversity and the richness of life on this planet that we will be able to regain the wisdom we've lost, our sense of connectedness with the cosmos, with the unfolding of this cosmos, with the creation. We are part of it, here and now. And perhaps then for this month, our awareness practice would be just to have a look around again at the people we meet in the public transport, in the supermarkets, where we work, and welcome them as members of our global family. And recognize that they are part of me and I am part of them. The one who sees all beings in his or her own self, and her and his own self there in all beings, loses all fear, and freedom and happiness can follow.